Welcome back to the Mama Genius Festival / podcast today because we're doing it all. And we have had such phenomenal women on here. And I guarantee you our next one is no different. You know what she's going to tell us about? She's going to tell us about getting into our passions while we're parenting. I can't wait to bring Marissa up because it's that lost feeling that we have, that deep side inside that something needs to come out. She's going to help bring that out. And I can't wait. And so we're just going to dive right into it all today as I bring up the intro. Welcome to Mama Genius Hub Podcast, where we support moms with big dreams from entrepreneurship to personal aspirations. I'm your host, Michelle DeKaiser, and I'm here to help you unlock your potential in all areas of life. Join us as we explore strategies for thriving in motherhood while pursuing the dreams, the key to actually unlocking your genius. Subscribe now and embark on a journey to realize your fullest potential. That's all right. It's been glitching a little bit off and on. We'll fix that when we get to the podcast. But Marisa Moeller, a transformational psychologist, she recognized and respected professional in the field of wellness and health, offers a mitigation of tongue-tied today, but I will get the coffee in. Traditional therapeutic modalities with innovative and ergonomic. Okay, there is something hostile technique. Hostile. It's not hostile. Marissa's sitting there in the background laughing at me. I can see it. It's all right because we're going to get through this. Techniques with over 30 years of experience, she provides integrative and transformational wellness support to a wide array of clientele. Her approach is healing, firmly anchored in the principles of empathy and inclusivity, which is so vital to have that warm, welcoming feel. Integrate creativity and expresses arts, therapies, mindful activities, coaching, and traditional Eastern holistic practices with Western biomedicine. Emphasizing personal healing journeys, Marissa fosters trust and collaboration because that's what we need. We need that person to help us with us customizing sessions to meet the client's need while providing constructive feedback, insightful strategies, and practical tools. Welcome to the Mama Genius, Marissa. I'm so excited to have you here today.
Thank you for having me, Michelle.
It's such a pleasure. And I've just been such an honor to get to know you over the last couple of weeks. And I feel like these podcasts are just so special because of the festival. And I've had conversations ahead of time with each of you and getting to know you so much. And I'd love to hear how the festival is going for you.
Oh, well, I've been fortunate enough to be listening to many of the speakers. I like to listen to other people and hear what they have to say. So I find that, first of all, I'm learning a lot. I am getting to know a lot of the other people that are speaking. I've made connection with many of them. And I think that this is fabulous. It's a global event and it's needed. I think that a lot of people find themselves alone and fearful of what to do and how to take the next step. And I think something like this is so important to be out there that they can actually go back to and listen to. All you have to do is join the group and you can hear it over and over again. And I think that that's the beauty of this event online.
I agree with you because and especially sometimes I feel like the summits, like it's just that time period and it's over. Like this one to be create evergreen and all these episodes are within here because I know moms, you have a lot going on, but you can still take 20 minutes yourself to listen to one that's calling to you. But on that note, I really want to dive into you, Marissa, and really figure out what is your why behind what you do?
Well, there are two things. The initial story is for a different day because it's too long. How I actually got into the healing arts, completely different story. But why it is that I wanted to deal with moms in particular is because I find that through the clientele that I've had for many, many years doing this, that moms always put themselves on the back burner. I'm always reminded of, I believe it was an actress, can't remember her name now. She wrote a book that moms have a tendency of always eating the burnt toast. And it's so true that we do have a tendency of putting ourselves last, our families first. If we have a job, if we have a career, that also comes first. Friends come first, family members come first, and we always seem to be on the back burner. So I really thought it was important to get out there because I've heard so many stories from so many women as to why they cannot or feel that they're not enough, they're not worthy, they're not equal to anyone. And I find that very sad because it's quite the opposite. They really are all Wonder Women, superstars, because when you think about what they do, if they had to be paid for what they do, just in the household alone, no one could pay them enough.
We'd have a really broke community if we were actually paying the moms what we actually deserve. And it's so true, though. I love that analogy of the burnt toast, because it actually made me think of like when I was, especially when my kids were young, and I was definitely being a stay-at-home mom, and my lunch was always just whatever they didn't eat. It wasn't that I necessarily always made myself something. It was just like whatever they didn't eat, well, that was my lunch. And I think a lot of moms do that. We don't like look out for ourselves, and we just take the leftovers of what's out there. And I love that that's your inspiration for doing this.
Yeah. And I think her name was Terry Hatcher, actress Terry Hatcher. That was her book.
Her. She was in was it Desperate Housewives? I think.
Yes.
Desperate Housewives. Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
That was a fun show. Getting into the on reality of motherhood, but like all the fun parts of it. Going back to this, so yeah, it really is about learning that we can pursue our passions while mothering. That I feel like it was always this role that as our moms and grandmothers said, once you became a mom, your stuff went on the back burner, and then it was all about the kids. But then when does that stop? Whoever reaches their dreams, if that's the case.
Well, exactly. I think that a lot of society puts women in a box that says that you have to be one or the other. You can't be both. You can't be all. And you certainly can't be yourself, because that's not important. And so when that's thrust upon people, it's very difficult to put your toe into the water and say, I want to do this. And listen, passions, there are many passions, and everybody places a different definition of their passion onto the word passion. You could have one passion, you could have many passions, you could have things that you want to do all at the same time, you could want things that you want to try different time periods in your life. But because there's always that feeling, and other women have done it to one another, I've heard it myself personally when my daughter was young. Any woman who put themselves out there to work or career or wanting to be involved with their passions, even if they were passions that were not things that they were getting paid for, they would hear, oh, she's selfish. Oh, she doesn't think about anybody but herself. How could she do that? Or look at her poor children. They don't come first. And all of those things that are said make one feel less than, and as if they're wrong, where there is no right or wrong, but they right away put that label on themselves, wrong, bad.
So, I mean, that is just so true. And women have done that to each other for so long. And I always feel like that concept of the glass ceiling too, like there's can only be so many women at the top of the table. And so like women who do make it there, like crying and at each other. And the same thing when it comes to the way you're supposed to do certain things, like we put that on ourselves. But I love how you are trying to change that, because really when we come together and support each other in the wonderful ways that we do things uniquely, like even in this festival, you can see all the women coming together to create this vibrant energy that is like none other, that is so more powerful than us saying that we have to do it by ourselves.
Right, exactly. And well, it's a community. And then you want people around you of a like mind, and you want them to prop you up. And it is a bit of work, don't get me wrong. I mean, I think part of what I say to people is that you have to have someone hold you accountable too. It's another job. You want to live your passions. It's definitely a job, because you may be playing against type, because you may be playing against all of that negative programming, that those recorders that go on in your head telling you all of these things that you've heard from others, and then you internalize and then you repeat to yourself.
That's so true, because we like get into that negative programming and like it's on repeat. And so we need that accountability to make sure that when we start moving forward, I mean, even I'm thinking about myself with like this festival, like I was like, I can't do this. It's not going to happen. And then, but because of the accountability and the other people that I reached out to stop that internal programming that we each have, regardless of what, like it always looks from the outside, but we have, so we need to make sure we're in that community. And I love that you're bringing this forth.
Yes. And you come in exactly as you are. And that's the most important part, because as long as you get in exactly as you are, I think that that scares a lot of women. It scares them. They compare themselves to other women. They compare themselves to the woman they were in the past. Now we know, listen, no one has perfected this situation. Believe you me, I'd be the first online to go backwards, but we can't. It doesn't happen. So, we have to go with the flow. We have to go with as we are today, and as we will be in the future, because there is no going back in the past. That hasn't come about yet. But people are fearful, women especially. They feel they're going to be judged. They're going to be judged by other women. They're going to be judged by the men in their lives. They're going to be judged by their family members or friends. So that they're so fearful to really jump in. And really, you can jump in just the way you are. Listen, there are days none of us, feel right. There are days we're tired. There are days we don't want to fix our hair. There are days we want to stay in our sweats. There are days you want to just lay down for 5 seconds. We are human beings.
So true. And I love that. And the concept of being judged is so true. It's always so prevalent, honest, but sometimes we expect the judging to even be worse than it would actually be. We already start telling our stories. This is what's going to happen. And we have a story in our head. And then that's not even what happens at all. But we were so fearful that we're already projecting that this is going to happen and I can't do it.
Yeah. And you know what? Everybody is judging themselves. Everybody is worried about themselves. They don't have time to worry about someone else. I mean, in all of us, I'm sure you've been busy from first thing this morning. You could care less that your neighbor's house isn't clean or that they didn't make the bed. Or who has time for that? And I think that we have a tendency of putting a lot of undue stress on ourselves, because you know what? I guess maybe as I've gotten older, I don't care if I don't get to something in a day. It'll be there tomorrow. Guess what? It'll be there long after I'm gone. So really, am I going to worry about this? No.
We'll be back in just one moment. We're going to dive deeper into how we're going to do this. Attention mompreneurs. Do you feel like you're constantly juggling the responsibilities without a moment to yourself? It's time to pause and reflect with our Mama Genius quiz. Tailored for busy mamas like you, this quiz will help you identify what's blocking your path and inspire you to harness your unique strengths, transform how you manage life and business, find your rhythm, and ignite your joy. Visit mamageniushub.com today to discover your Mama Genius. And that's mamageniushub.com. And we're back. So Marissa, I'd love for you to tell us some of those. How do we I know moms can sometimes feel so lost in what they're doing and stuff, and they're just going, I don't even know what I like doing anymore. So how do we figure out what those passions are?
Well, first of all, as I said before, listening to all of the women speaking on the Mama Genius Festival, everybody had wonderful information, and it can be overwhelming at times. And I think that there are a few important things. The first thing is you need to get yourself in a community. That's absolute. And you can shop around for communities, because sometimes you'll find that you like one more than the other, or something resonates more with how you want to live, or how you are living, or where you see yourself going. And so that is a personal choice, but I suggest that that's the first thing you do. Find a community of like-minded people and jump in. And then the other thing is find someone that you want to work with that will hold you accountable, and hold you accountable to live a rich and radiant life. Hold you accountable to say, what micro step did you do this month? And it can be micro steps. It doesn't have to be this whirlwind of action, as long as you take action. And action can be different for different people. One person's action may be just looking online for groups. That may be something so massive for them, and they've already taken the first step. And you go from there. It's all in the micro steps, and it's all in the connections and the collaborations, because you will make collaborations once you get involved.
I love that so much. And I want to add one more thing about community, though, too, is there's different types of communities. So you might want the in-person community and looking for something local. You might want the virtual community. And I just want to throw in my personal take on that is, at first I tried to do the in-person thing, and I realized that I'd been so disconnected and ended up my body rejected that in-person thing. And so that's almost why when I do my work right now, I start virtually and want moms to start virtually to almost like go in the shallow end and work up to being able to connect again, because we have got so disconnected from each other. And so just to consider that when you're thinking about community, because it's so vital that you choose. And like you said, when you're shopping around, to be able to shop around and do those different things and not say that, oh, well, I picked this one, so I have to stick with it. It's
Right.
you find the right
Exactly.
fit.
Right. And virtual is fabulous. I mean, we meet people all over the world virtually now. And we're finding that even though the world is so large, it's really so small. And mothers all over the world have the same concerns for their children, the same fears, the same aspirations for their children, for themselves, for their families. And we're finding that we're really much more alike than we think. And so that's why virtual is fantastic, a fantastic place to start.
I totally agree, especially with realizing how small the world is. And it really does come to fundamental belief is we want to be loved, we want to love, and we want to feel worthy of what we're doing. And all of us have that innate in us. And that just shows how similar we are. But we have so many different ways and aspects of doing that. Just like we were talking about before with your genius, every one of you has a genius inside of you, but the way you express it is different. But we're all so innate and so similar that when we shine in that, you can really see and feel that energy so differently, which I love how you bring in the passion of it and like mom's really going after that.
Well, because you have every right to go after it. I mean, we're all unique. We're all worth it. We're all of worth, and we should all know that. And whatever it is that you want to do, that's your right. That's your right to do. That's your authentic self. No one should ever tell you that you're less than, or you're not good enough, or you don't deserve that, or you're not worth it. That should never be said to anybody.
I'm writing down fiercely. I'm moving on to the next page now. We're learning so much, and I just love how you really bring that in and remind us that you are worthy. And sometimes I know we don't necessarily need the permission, but it's nice to hear it from someone else saying, and I love that you're giving that to the moms right now, going that you honestly, you don't need the permission, but right now we're both giving it to you because you are worthy, you deserve it. And just hearing that sometimes just opens that and starts to peel out those onions that we put on top of those layers that we put on top of ourselves to hide that genius, that greatness inside of you. And as we have these conversations more and more, start to unpeel it back more. And I just would love to know if you have any more like ideas of how to unpeel that a little bit more so moms are finding their passions.
Well, I think that the first thing you have to find out is what it is that you like to do, because then you can go from there. And liking to do something and liking to do many things, that's up to you. Don't ever feel that, because there are also times where you're here, well, that's nonsense, or that's just, little happy hands. You don't have to make money at something. You don't have to have a career in a certain area. You have to do what feels right to you. And that's really, I would say, the most important thing I would tell someone before they even start with the communities, the like-minded people, the micro steps. Find out what really feeds your soul, what really lights your fire. And it could be anything. It could be anything. It could be many things. But you have to start somewhere. You have to start from there, because I think that a lot of people, they don't even know what it is that they like. And I think that a lot of us equate our passions with having to be wealthy and affluent and have a big home and an expensive car and belong to country clubs. And that doesn't necessarily mean that that's what will make you truly happy.
I love that so much. And we've put those society pressures on ourselves, but that might not be what our soul's calling for. You might like to just go on nature hikes and like live in the, like not around anybody, whatever that, but it is asking yourself, because it really does come to, I've noticed working with moms too, you say, what do you like doing? And they'll just kind of look at you and go, well, I don't like doing blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, that's not what I'm asking. What is something you like doing? Well, sometimes I don't like when my kids do this. I'm like, and you avoid the question of actually answering what I like doing. And I know I've struggled with that as well. It's like, it's so easy to say things you don't like doing, but to really just focus on what you actually do like. So I'd love to part with the question, what is something today that you can do for 10 minutes just for yourself that you would enjoy? And just to start with that, to open up the curiosity to it.
Yes, absolutely. That's true. That's a great way for someone to see what they'd like to do. Just for a few minutes. It could be actually taking a nap because that's what's needed at the moment.
And we never give ourselves credit for any of that. But yeah, I think that that's always been such a great way to start, is because once you start asking the question and you open up your curiosity, we're starting to open up our RAS, that reticular activating system. And then all of a sudden you're like, wow, just like when you get that brand new car, you start to see it everywhere. Well, when you start to ask guiding questions like that, and you don't have to have the answer right now.
Right.
And I think that's when we
Right.
put our filters on, that we have to like be, okay, well, what do I like doing? I need to know that right this second, or figure
Hmm.
it out, or just all these things. And we just need to open the space to it.
And give yourself permission to open the space. I think that a lot of times women, they're fearful of even vocalizing it because they're afraid that someone else is going to say, well, that's nonsense, or you don't have time for that, or you shouldn't be doing that. There's a lot of shouldn'ts and wouldn'ts and couldn'ts that go on from others. And I think a lot of women, that's why they don't want to even give themselves the space to think about what would truly make them happy. What are their passions?
It's so true. And then we just kind of like say like we're not allowed to. And I love that this is all about, you are. I am going to record that because you said you have every right to go after what you want, and I think that's so crucial to remember, moms out there, is that we need to stop that cycle with you, because at some point your parents wanted you to have that happy adult life. And then we're
Mhm.
just keep perpetuating that if we don't stop at one point and say, yes, I'm going to live that life so I can inspire my kids to do the same.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. And after all, that's really what we are, right? An example to them.
So true. But we're back with Marissa right now, and we're going to dive into our 5 questions. I think we talked about a little bit of these topics along the way, and I can't wait to dive into, especially the success one. I'm looking forward to hearing her take on that. But we're going to start with number 1, which, what is your favorite podcast, tool, or resource that you've used to manage your life with your business and your life as a mom?
Oh, I have to say that the biggest tool is the calendar for me because I have to be completely organized with all that I do. So that, and I've only recently gone onto the calendar on my phone. So I still use a paper calendar as well.
I love that too. We actually do have a paper calendar up on the wall too for all the kids' activities and stuff. And some of it migrates to my phone. I need to make sure they match better because sometimes I forget things. It's so true. The calendar really does help so much. And then number 2, we really want to talk more about that joy. And so, what are some of the things, traditions, or things you do in your family to help brings more joy to your house?
Oh, well, we do a lot together. I garden, and we've worked on that for years. I mean, even before I had my daughter, I think one of the speakers actually mentioned it about having a gardening journal with children. And I actually had mine before I even had my daughter. And then once I had her, we've started to do it together. And so we write down everything that we plant or if we move things. And so we do that together. What else do we do? I mean, we have a little exercise room yoga studio, so we've been all doing that together. We try to do that 3 times a week for health reasons and for time together to chat. And she too has been doing yoga since she's young, so um, we all do that. Even my husband, when he has the opportunity to be in there with us. And what else do we do? I mean, we travel together. Um, we even it's funny because I only have the one daughter. We even listen to books together because we've had a lot of traveling, and so we listen to books when we don't have time to read. We're all avid readers, but we listen to books when we have the opportunity in a vehicle. So we take those along with us.
I love that so much because we always pick out some family books that, like, when we go on our family trips. And we actually, one of the ones we read was actually called The Genius Files, and it's about these 2 kids with Coke and Pep and all their adventures on road trips and stuff. So it actually was very fitting, and really remember that one vividly. And they were driving all through the United States, so and finding all these big, the they wanted to find all the like the tall things, or like the biggest like book, or I can't remember all the things. But then, so now my kids, when we go on road trips, like, can we find some of those things? And it's so fun with the audiobooks and stuff. But that leads us into number 3, because I feel like moms this is my mission to really get some new ideas out there. I feel like we mask behind the word busy. We use it as a badge of honor. And so a lot of times when we talk to each other, we say, hi, how are you doing is our question. And the answers are always, I'm fine, or I'm busy doing blah, blah, blah. So I'd love to, like, language is so important. I'd love to throw it out to you in terms of how do we either reword the question, how do we reword the answer, anything to do to remove that busy mask that we hide behind.
Well, I think first of all, from a psychological standpoint, a lot of people feel that if they're not busy, they're not accomplishing anything. They're almost half of a person. They don't have anything to say, and we really need to change that. I mean, what things of interest are you doing? What things of beauty are you doing? What things, what things that you truly enjoy are you doing? Because I think a lot of people, they're almost fearful, even if they are doing it, they're fearful to say. They would rather say, oh, I'm busy racing around, oh, I'm so busy with the family, with my job, with my home. And I think that they think that that's almost how they have to answer.
Yeah, it's so true. And I love that. I love that idea. So what things of interest are you doing? I love that so much, just because it really brings on, and it's something that we can, like, really listen to each other on. Because I love those questions where sometimes I feel like just how are you doing has become more of just like, it's a pleasantry. It's not like you actually expect or want an answer. And so being in that mind to actually engage in connection with people, that's such a great question. But then lead us into number 4, which we kind of actually sort of touched on a little bit in our conversation, but it was that definition of success. Because we kind of talked about what society puts out there, and you kind of paint a nice picture of that. But I'd love to know what you define as success and how you celebrate it.
Well, I mean, success to me is having a restful day. I'll be honest with you. Honestly, it's having a restful day. It's having a day to have, to be organized enough to have time for myself, time with my family, time to be outdoors. That's how I look at it.
I'm writing that down right now. I love that. And I just love getting such different answers, because I feel like the definition you gave before of the monetary and the big house and all this is what we're supposed to feel like we're designed to do. But really, when we start actually talking about it, it's looking at what do we actually want, which brings us back to what we've been talking about all day. And when we define what that success actually looks like for us, then we can start to accomplish it. Because it may be what society says, and it may not be. But for you to actually make that conscious choice rather than just unconsciously think you're going after something you don't even want. I love that so much. The number 5, we're talking about that encouraging creativity, and how do we bring that genius out in our kids, and what ideas you have to inspire that.
Well, I mean, I'm all for creativity in every aspect. And I think that, as we know, that's usually what's cut, right? It's cut everywhere. It's cut. It's always cut federally, cut in schools, cut. That's the first thing that they want to cut off, which is so sad, because that's where we grow, and we think, and we design, and we decide. And I mean, there's so much in creativity. And I think that if you want to be creative, you can be creative with your children. It could be anything. It could be painting a rock. It could be looking at petals on a flower. It's everything really is creative if you look at it with those eyes, and you can actually take the time yourself to do things with your children. I think that's some of the most important things. And it can be anything that, even banging on a drum. I mean, look at how children act, right? Just hopping and jumping around and pretending they're being creative, and they're enjoying it. And it's not until adults say, stop behaving like that, sit still, don't jump, don't move, don't speak, right? How many times have you heard that? Just, you have to stand there and do nothing. And I think that's shameful on our part.
So true. I love that so much. But why don't you tell everyone how they can get a hold of you if you have a free gift, and what is your
I do have a free gift.
Go for it.
I do have a free gift, and I can drop it in the chat.
Perfect.
Right in the chat, they can get the URL to get the free gift. And really, I'm on all forms of social media, and you just have to look up Marissa. It's with one S, and Moeller, which is Moeller. I'm on pretty much every social media platform, and you can find me there. Usually, most people find me that way to contact me.
That's amazing. And what is your final takeaway for everyone today?
what I'd like to say to them, you mean, or what I'm taking away? I'm taking away a host of tools to help my clients. That's what I'm taking away from the Mama Genius Festival. What I'd like to say to everybody is that you are the most important thing. Without you, your family can't grow. Your family can't thrive. So you have to. It's your obligation to concern yourself with you. It's your obligation to live a rich and radiant life, not only for yourself but for your entire family.
I love that so much. I am such a pleasure having you on today, Marissa. I'm so grateful that you were able to join us and be part of this. And it's been such wonderful to get to know you and your message. And I'm just so inspired by you. And I will put you backstage, but thank you so much. And then I'm going to go over your takeaways for today. Wasn't that amazing? I mean, she gave us so many different tools of how to really bring that genius out of us, bringing that light back to us as moms and that permission. And so number one is really looking at how society does box us in. A lot of times we say we can't be ourselves, that we can't go after our passions and things, but really it's looking at what is our passions. Women have always put themselves last, but now it's time to, and we've been told that we've been selfish. And so it's almost acknowledging what is that box and then what can we do about it? The thing we can do about leads into number two, which we stressed so much during this podcast, was finding your community. You have to have someone to help you be accountable in that community, but to actually find somewhere where you can be, whether it's in person or virtual. But Marissa points out the key to that is to come in exactly as you are. Because if you don't do that, then you're already starting to be that people pleasing or comparing to others. But when you join that new community as you are, then you're able to dive in deep. And that leads us to number three. Everyone is worried about themselves. And we forget that. We keep thinking we're so busy judging ourselves and things we do that we think everyone else is judging us, but they're so busy doing it for themselves that we're in this potential thing thinking that we need to worry about the things. But when we realize that everyone is so busy judging themselves, then we can take a step backwards to really figure out those things that we do enjoy doing and not worry about all the little things that will be there tomorrow. And as Marissa put, till long after she's gone. And number four brings us to finding that accountable person that helps you, finding that coach or that person that's going to help you live a rich and vibrant life, that helps you make sure you're taking micro steps. You're not just jumping into the deep end and trying to do two things too much to overwhelm yourself. And having that you can collaborate and making that come forward and really bringing that. And number five really comes down to that the world is so small. We are all moms out here trying for the same things, to be loved, to do love. And night after night, remembering that you are worthy of it. And right now, I know you don't need it, but we both want to give you that permission to go after the things that you like and start by asking yourself that one little question: what can I do for 10 minutes a day that I actually enjoy doing? And if you can't think of anything right now, then go ahead and do that. And so thank you everyone for joining in on the Mama Genius podcast / festival today, and we'll see you on the next episode. Thank you for joining us in today's episode of the Mama Genius Hub podcast. If you found value in our conversation, please share this episode with another mama who might benefit. Sharing helps us build a supportive community and reach out to more mamas like you. After all, it's more fun when we do motherhood together. Until next time, stay motivated and continue to pursue your dreams as you shine in your genius.